Hi everyone, Christina Warner here. Welcome to another video for Says Stamp.com. Today I'm going to be using elements from the February 2019 card kit, starting out with this stamp set called Love Always, and I'm going to be using the really large You Will Always Be in My Heart sentiment, as well as some of the smaller heart elements. I'm also going to use a little bit of that embroidery floss. Starting out with a piece of white cardstock that I've cut down to be a little bit smaller than a standard size card, and I'm going to do some ink blending using 3 different colors of Distress Oxide ink. The first color I'm using is Spun Sugar, and I'm blending that in from the short end of this cardstock, making sure I have a nice saturation of color. I'm then bringing in Abandoned Coral, and if you ever blended with Distress Oxide inks, you may notice that sometimes your fingerprints are visible when you're holding down the piece after you've already blended it. So in order to just prevent that, I just grabbed a Post-it note that I have on hand, and I'm using that to protect my fingertips from getting any ink on them and also leaving any ink fingerprints behind. The third color I used is Aged Mahogany, and I just kind of went back and forth between these colors until I got a nice blend. I'm going to be doing some heat embossing on this blended piece, so I used my heat tool just to speed up the drying process. Distress Oxide inks generally dry fairly quickly, especially in comparison to its original Distress sister product. That one tends to take even a little bit longer to dry, but I did speed it up just because I wanted to get moving on with my card. So now I'm stamping that really large greeting in Versamark ink, and I did prep the area with an anti-static powder tool before I stamped. So I'm sprinkling on some white embossing powder. This is Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and I'll shake that off, get rid of any excess, and then I'll use my heat tool to heat set this until all those lines are smooth and melted. You don't want to heat set it too much because it might kind of blob out those lines. You want it to be nice and crisp, so just watch and make sure that those lines are melted. I'm now taking the 2 heart images in that stamp set, and I've moved to stamping them with individual blocks. I'm doing this as opposed to using the Misty tool because I'm going to be stamping these hearts over and over and over again, and I figured it would just be easier if I kept them mounted to blocks and then I just moved them around. So I did a bunch of stamping, nestling each of these hearts in with each other, giving myself a nice random pattern. And then I used that same embossing powder and sprinkled it over the top and then heat set all of it until all of it was melted. This gives me kind of a custom background with it nestling up right up into that greeting area. I thought it was a really cute idea. So in order to finish off this design here, I'm going to take some of that embroidery floss that comes in the kit. This is the darkest maroon shade, and I've wrapped it around my piece here 3 times and then tied it into a bow. As far as the card base goes, I'm using some cardstock from the kit. This is some craft colored cardstock, and I've cut it at 4 1/4 and then scored it at 5 1/2 to create a top folding card. Put some foam adhesive on the back of my blended piece and then press that down onto the front of my card. That finishes the card for today. I think this is a really fun Valentine's Day card. Hope you guys are inspired by all of the elements inside the February 2019 card kit. Thanks for watching.